everything you guys need to know about the AEW situation. Why? Because Netflix is buying Warner Bros. Discovery. Netflix came out with their press release today. They have announced that they are set to acquire Warner Bros. Discovery following the separation of Discovery Global for a total enterprise value of $82.7 billion, which is absolutely insanity. Now, this is what you guys need to know. Netflix will maintain Warner Bros. Current operations. They claim that the combination will offer more choice and greater value for consumers, create more opportunities for the creative community, and generate shareholder value. The acquisition will strengthen the entertainment industry. So what does this mean for AEW? Because a lot of people believe that this is going to be AEW is screwed, right? A lot of people think that's the case. AEW is screwed. In the interim, AEW is fine. But also what this means is that the television deal for AEW will not be with Warner Bros. Discovery. It's going to be with a new company. And the belief is that that company will be called the Global Discovery Network. Global Discovery Network will essentially be the channels like TNT, TBS, Home Garden TV, Food Network, True TV. They have a lot of channels. That's not going to Netflix. Those are not being sold to Netflix. Instead, what Netflix is purchasing is essentially the film studios, the intellectual properties. They're going to own all the IPs. They're going to own all the streaming things, Warner Brothers games. I mean, if you look at what Warner Bros. Discovery owns, Warner Brothers owns so much. You know, between DC Comics, Friends, Harry Potter. I mean, the list goes on. They have a huge list of things that they own that will now all be owned by Netflix. So the conversation then becomes, well, what happens to AEW? AEW will have their contracts fulfilled. They'll have to finish out their contracts. You also have to factor in their streaming because AEW is on the linear deal. And because of the linear deal, which is linear TV, they will be fine regarding that. But Netflix will also be owning HBO Max, which AEW has a separate deal for, and that allows for AEW to distribute their pay-per-views and their tape library on HBO Max. Now, technically speaking, HBO Max is expected to continue operating as a standalone app outside of Netflix. Okay? So what that means is Netflix will own HBO Max, which means they would own the pay-per-view and tape library rights for AEW. I believe AEW in the future will have to lose their HBO Max streaming deal. I believe that is in fact true. I believe they will lose their HBO Max streaming deal. Now, their TV deal, that's going to depend on Global Discovery and how they want to do things and how they want to move. But I don't think it's very reasonable to assume that HBO Max and AEW will be together forever. I think it's very safe to assume that because of Netflix having exclusive rights with WWE, I think that possibility becomes very, very little. But I do also want to point out a couple things here. When it comes to AEW, the reason why I say they're fine in the interim is for a variety of reasons. I don't think people understand naturally how long this deal could potentially take to pass. It's got to pass government regulations. The government, supposedly wanted Paramount to own Warner Bros. Discovery. Now there's a lot of opposition that maybe Netflix was kind of groomed into a position of where they were able to make this acquisition more favorable. I don't know if that's true. But the reality is, I think for people panicking about AEW, I don't think you need to panic yet. But I have said it several times in today's live stream. I do believe to a certain extent AEW could be screwed long term if there isn't a clear and concrete plan for Global Discovery, for the TV channels, for Home Garden TV. I don't know how that's going to work. You also got to think about the TV executives that currently work and are in favor of AEW. You have to wonder, how are they going to be doing with everything? That's a very big part of it all. But yes, don't expect AEW to be on Netflix. That's not happening. That's not going to happen. And that includes their tape library. That includes their pay-per-views. Now, for shits and giggles, I've reiterated this a couple times, but I think Netflix is trying to tell people, hey, this won't impact the theatrical releases. Hey, this won't impact the Blu-ray business, this and that. No, this is going to impact the Blu-ray and DVD business. This is going to impact theaters. And I think it would be absolutely foolish for Netflix to own HBO Max and to have it as a separate app. Netflix would be very foolish to do that. Netflix would be much smarter if they were to incorporate HBO section under Netflix. The people who get screwed by this, by the way, are the consumers, because $82.7 billion is a lot of money. That means they're going to have to pay a lot of money to recoup this, which also means Netflix will probably hit us all with a price increase. Now, if you're getting away from HBO Max and you do a price increase and then HBO Max is part of Netflix, I'm okay with that price increase because HBO Max does have a lot of awesome content. So does Netflix, but expect the price increase. And there's no guarantee that government regulation will pass this, by the way. I think it will, but I don't think it's going to happen in 2, 3, 4 months. I think this is going to be a drawn out process. I think there's a lot of people who are going to argue about this. And those people who argue about this are not arguing for the sake of WWE or AEW, but they are arguing for the sake of Netflix potentially becoming a monopoly, things of that nature. Hopefully that gives you all a breakdown of what that means. Now let's answer some questions. Kickboxer27 dropped a $5 super chat. He says, I have faith that Tony Khan will have an ace up his sleeve in any case goes south. If TKO knows what is good for them, they should also back off AEW or else. I think Tony Khan will be fine because Warner Bros. Discovery is not selling the TV properties, the TV channels. So for that part, I think he's fine. I think where Tony Khan needs to actually really be mostly concerned is after the TV deals are done, how much money are they going to get? That's a big question. I think that's a big concern that they should have. Shout out to Kickboxer27 for the $5 super chat. We also got one from Adam Myron for $5. He says, here's something people don't understand. The Netflix WBD doesn't close the deal in the next 12 to 18 months, and WBD is separating in April. So AEW, I don't understand the last part of that, GAFN. But what I will say is this. The deal doesn't close. I mean, yeah, this is a drawn out process, right? This is a process that's going to be drawn out for a while. This is not going to be an easy solution. This is going to be a nightmare. And, you know, for Tony Khan, the best thing you could do, and for AEW, the best thing you could do is just be prepared for everything, but continue doing what you're doing because live content is always far more valuable. That's where the money is. That's where it makes the most sense. And that's obviously a very, 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 very big deal. So shout out to Adam for the super chat. Fred B. Jams 4956 dropping a $5 super chat. He says AEW to Hulu or some other independent streaming services. So Hulu is owned by Disney, which also owns ESPN. So I think that would be far unlikely. I think you're better off expecting AEW to Amazon in the future. That's in the future, long drawn future. Because again, these contracts are going to get, they're going to get finished or whatever. Netflix is going to have to inherit those contracts and finish them off. But when it comes to new TV rights and things of that nature, that's where things will change. So, yeah. Gregory says, what happened to Paramount buying WB? Well, Netflix made in the big bid. So that's kind of where we're at with it. But ladies and gentlemen, that is everything you need to know about AEW, Netflix, WBD.